All right. Hi there, Leandro. Thanks for waiting. How are you? How do you feel today?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening.
Hey, good evening. Great. That's great to know as always. Let's please work with the new lesson. We have two things to do today. Okay, embedded questions and one more lesson that it's going to be short as well. But now, let's get into embedded questions. I believe I mentioned this and I believe that we covered this already, right? It's related to a question inside another question, right? What do you remember about this, Leandro, about embedded questions?
This is a question inside another question. I remember that.
Uh-huh, good. And what do you remember about the rules? There are some rules. What is the main rule? Well, the rules are kind of related to the same thing, but what is a change that you remember that you have to make when you put a question inside another question or inside a statement? What do you remember about the order of the words? What do you remember about the conjugation? What do you say? Do you remember anything about it?
No, I don't remember.
Okay, let's try to remember by work on one example. Okay, before that, here, let's say that the question, right? Give me please one question that comes to your mind. What question comes to your mind, Lea?
Um, um, I don't know. Can you tell me what happened? It's the
Okay,
question.
good. Yes, and actually that's already an embedded question. All right.
Ah,
First you have, can you tell me? And then you have what happened, right?
oh,
And it's okay. And actually it's pretty good. And that's an embedded question. All right. Now let's do the same, but only one question. Because if you remember, or sorry, if you realize here, you have one question. Can you tell me what happened? Another question. Right now, let's try to only one question with it can be one yes no question or one
mm-hmm.
WH question. What do you say?
Um, um, where, uh, where do you that? No, where? Yes, where do you?
Where do you remember in questions? This is the theory. This doesn't mean anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now you need a verb.
Where do you um make that? I don't know.
Okay, yes, it is correct. Where do you
Mm-hmm.
make that? Right? Donde haces eso? Correct. Now, let's take that as the example then. Okay, this is let's say a question, right? A normal question, let's call it. Now, remember that an embedded question is going to be one question or one sentence. Let's say the same thing that you say, or close to that one. Would you tell me, right? Would you tell me that's going to be the beginning of a question? And for a sentence or for a statement, it's going to be, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Now, how can you combine this, Leandro? How can you say this question plus this question here?
Um, would you tell me where do you make that?
Okay, now we are close. There's only one thing that is incorrect. Remember, what do you have to change here that you have over there already?
Um, um, I, I don't know. I think uh, erase and the word do.
Exactly. Because remember, you don't say question order, you say sentence order. Subject, verb, complement. Okay? And you don't need auxiliaries for sentence order. Okay? And it's the same here. Okay, so that's what you have to remember. If you remember that, but we need to practice, okay, so that you remember. But that's it. Okay, now here, why is it incorrect in the second one? What do you say? What do we have to change in the second example? I don't know where you make that.
Um, I don't know where. I don't know. I don't know.
All right, if you realize the mistake is here, would you
Mhm,
tell me that's a question? I don't know, it's not a question. So it
mhm.
means that we are not going to finish with a question mark. We're going to finish
Ah,
with a period. Okay, just that.
okay.
Okay, good. Now, let's remember that one. Again, I'm going to share the link, but we're going to read. And after we read, we remember the ideas. We are going to write some examples to be sure that we remember this lesson. Okay, so the link is in the chat. Now, first we are going to read. We know the definition, so let's remember when to use it. This is the first usage, Leandro. Let's read this, please.
Okay, usage. Usage one. We can use embedded questions as a part of other questions. This is sometimes called an indirect question and is often used to be polite. A normal question, where is the station? Indirect question, that includes an embedded question. Could you tell me where is the station is? Where the station is?
Good, right? So as you can see, again, we don't say where is the station, we say where the station is, right? Why? Because the station is the subject, is the verb. And here we don't have complement, right? Because the complement is optional. Okay, it's very important that you remember this. You always use sentence order and not question order in embedded questions. Okay, this is with questions. And now this is with a statement. Let's read this as well, please.
Okay, usage two. And we can also use embedded question as a part of statements. Embedded questions is a noun clause and can be used in a similar way to a noun. Normal question, where does she work? Embedded question in a statement. I don't know where she works. Here, where she works is the object.
Okay, thank you very much. The same, right? We don't say where does she work. We say where she works. Subject plus verb. We don't use auxiliary before, right? Because that's a question order and we need sentence order. All right. Now, remember the rules because we're going to write examples in a few minutes. If there's a question word, what, when, why, you use the question word, right? If there's not a question word, if it's a yes, no question, you have to use if or whether, right?
Mhm.
You have to use sentence order, right? What I told you, you don't use do, you don't use does, you don't use did in questions because this is sentence order. Then the order is subject, verb plus complement if you have a complement, if not just subject, verb. And here, if it's inside a question, use a question mark. If it's inside a statement, you have to use a period. All right, that's very important. Now, we're going to start working directly, and I'm going to be making some corrections if you need them. We're going to go to the document, please, Alejandro. And here we have one, two, we're going to work with 4 of them, okay? 4. So please, you're going to write 4 embedded questions, okay? 2 embedded questions that are yes, no questions, and 2 embedded questions that are, let me delete that, that are in WH questions. All right, so this is the instruction. I'm going to write it here. 4 embedded questions. All right, 2 are going to be yes, no. Right, yes, no questions. And 2 WH questions. All right, and there's also one more thing you're going to take into account, and is that yes, the 4 are going to be again 1 in present, okay, 1 in past, 1 in future, and 1 to remember in present perfect. Okay, so those are the instructions. Well, there's a mistake over there, but this is the thing, Leandro. I don't know if you have any questions for what you have to do. 4 in total, 2 yes/no questions, 2 WH questions, 1 in present, 1 in past, 1 in future, right? There's missing you, and 1 in present perfect. I don't know if you
Okay.
have any questions before working this. Let me know, please.
No, I don't have questions.
Okay, good. And remember, you have to use then also 4 different expressions, right? Can be I wonder, I don't know, I don't remember, I'm not sure. Could be those 4 or the 3 down below.
Okay.
Okay, good. Let's do it, please. Let me use the timer also.
I finished.
All right, so I'm here. Let's check those examples. Sorry, that's not the one over here. So let's read, please, what you wrote, Leandro.
Okay. Do you know where I can find a good restaurant? Did you remember the movie from last night? Have you thought about your parents? What will you do after you graduate from school?
All right, thank you very much. Now, in this one's right, one is going to be something we're going to use because one is already an embedded question, right? This is a question we're going to use, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Now, in number 1, right, you already have an embedded question. Okay, so it's going to be one already because you have, do you know, one question, where I can find a good restaurant, the second question, right? So that's embedded question. But what about number 2? How can you make number 2 an embedded question? What do you say? You can use one of these elements over here. Let's put them together. Okay, like that and like that. So what do you say? How can you make this one an embedded question?
Okay. I'm not sure. And did you remember the movie from last night?
Okay, close. But remember, if it's a yes/no question, what do you have to add if you have a yes/no question?
The auxiliary.
No, in this case, remember, we don't use auxiliaries. The auxiliary is did over there, right? Actually, you have to think the opposite. You never use the auxiliary in this form, right? In the embedded question, right? So one more time, I'm not sure. You're saying I'm not sure, right? Not sure. Okay, now.
I'm not sure if you remember the movie from last night.
Okay, if you, very well, then remember the movie from last night. Okay, now here also two things are missing. What do you say? Good. Now two things are missing. What are those two things?
I'm not sure if you remember the movie. I don't know.
Okay, remember did. When you use the auxiliary did, what tense is that? Is that present or past?
Past.
Good. Now, how can you make then this past? Because now it's in present.
Okay. I'm not sure if you remembered.
Yes. Remember, if you don't use the auxiliary, you have to use the conjugation of the verb in past. Okay, that's very important. If not, it is going to be incorrect. And one more thing at the end. Remember, I'm not sure, is that a question or is that a statement, a sentence?
Sorry.
Yeah, when you say I'm not sure, right? I'm not sure. Is that a question or is that a statement, a sentence?
Statement.
Good, right? So at the end of the statement, do we use question mark or do we use period?
Period.
Period. Okay, yes, that's a simple detail, but it's going to be important. If you set a period over there, or sorry, a question mark is going to be incorrect, right? So good. Now it's good. Now, number 3, the same. Try to use another one. And how would it be with an embedded question?
Okay. I don't know. I don't know.
Remember, you only have to do the same, right? Just one of these. You can say, I wonder. You can say, we don't remember. You can say, let's find out. Or you can say, I forgot, right? You only have one of those two.
Okay. Wonder is what is
Wonder means preguntarse. I
means.
wonder means me pregunto.
Okay. I wonder if you have
Very well. Great.
if you
Okay.
uh-huh.
If you have, what else? What else do we have to change?
I wonder the question mark.
Yes, very well. It goes to a period, right? Great. And here we don't need to do anything else. It is perfect like that. Okay, so do you know is the beginning of your embedded question? I'm not sure is the beginning of your embedded question. I wonder is the beginning of your embedded question. And this is the embedded question, right? That is going to be the embedded question. So let me mark it. Give me a second. That is the embedded question. This is the embedded question. This one as well. Now the last one, only one more. The same, Leandro. Add one of these and make the changes. So how would it be number 4?
Okay. I don't know. What will you do?
All right, let's do that. I don't know that your introduction. I don't know. Now what? How we have what, so we don't change. What else do you have to change?
I don't know what you will.
Because if you say will you, that's question, right? Question order. Here, always sentence order. So you will. If you say will you here, it's going to be incorrect. Okay, so you will, what you will do after you graduate from school, and what else? There's one more change.
The question mark.
Yes, okay, good. There you go. All right. Now, that's the first practice. If you're going to have questions, let me know. We're going to do one more thing. But let's remember those changes are very important. Okay, remember always inversion. If it's a question, it has to be a sentence order. And if it's a statement, it has to be with a period instead of a question mark. All right, but let's continue. We have one more list that is over here. Now, actually, I'm going to leave it that way, like this. Now, we are going to write, please, 4 more. All right, 4 more with these 4 ideas. You have one with do you know, but let's do one more time. Okay, do you know? Could you tell me? Is it possible to know? Would you mind telling me? But remember, after that, you're going to add 4 more questions. And it's going to be the same. It's going to be 2 yes/no questions and 2 WH questions. All right. Now the tenses, try to play with, in this case, all right, I'm going to write it here. In this case, it's going to be 1 in simple past. All right. 1 in simple present. All right. And the other 2 are going to be up to you. Okay, you decide the other 2. So the other 2 are to you. It means you decide. Okay, you decide what you're going to be with the other 2 examples. So let's do it, please. Again, if you have questions, let me know. If not, you know the idea. This introduction first, and then 4 questions, 2 yes/no questions, 2 WH questions, plus these tenses. All right, let's do it, please, Leandro.
I finished.
Perfect. We're going to take a look one more time. So I see the examples there. Let's read those examples, please.
Okay. Do you know when the concert started last night? Could you tell me where you went on your vacation? Is it possible to know how many languages do you speak? Won't you tell me what time the university closes?
Okay, thank you very much. Good. I think it generally is very good. Just one detail, but let me check just in case. So here, this is the, sorry, I have one. Okay, so here, this is the introduction, right? Do you know, and do you have when the concert started last night? Perfect. Then could you tell me, right, where you went on your vacation? Great. Is it possible to know? Now here, okay, when you say how many languages, that's the first part of the question. Now, what is the subject? You and speak, right? If you analyze, you have do. But as we know, we don't need do because it is the auxiliary in the simple present, right? So we have to delete that one.
Ah,
And directly, how many languages you speak, right? Remember, we
okay.
don't need do or did. If it's inverted, we don't need that auxiliary. And finally, would you tell me then what time the university closes? I think it's working great. With that, I believe that we have everything that we need for this one, Leandro. I don't know if you have any question before going to the next lesson, because this is everything for embedded questions. Let me know, please.
No, I don't have questions.
All right, let's go then to the next one. And let me close this one just in case. And the next lesson is going to be also something that we know that we are going to reinforce in this, all right, class. That is participial adjectives. I don't know what you remember about it before watching or seeing at the presentation. If I tell you participial or participle adjectives, what comes to your mind, Leandro? What do you say?
Mm, um, I don't know, but adjectives is a word that you can describe a person or an object.
Very
But
well.
I don't know what is participial or participle.
All right, good. We're going to remember because I know that you remember the lesson, but the name, okay, the name, and we don't have to memorize the name. It's not important. So let's go to see. These are participial adjectives. All right.
Mhm.
Now let's remember, please. Let's read all these examples, Leandro.
Okay. She's boring. She's bored. They are surprising. They are surprised.
Great, right? So boring, bored, surprising, and surprised. So what is the difference between she's boring and she's bored?
Um, mm, the first one, the boring, is for the process. The process um, is now. I I don't know how to say that. And the second one, we um, we don't know the time. I don't know, but it's
Yes,
with the time.
more than that, remember that boring and bored are adjectives, and adjectives don't have time, right? Surprising and surprised are also adjectives. They are not verbs, right? Remember, they are not present, they are not past, they are not future. Adjectives are only adjectives, right? And remember, if you remember this one, I'm sure you're going to remember in a while. Boring has a specific description for her, and bored has a specific description for her. So in this example, this is going to be clearer, and you're going to tell me the difference between boring and bored. If I say, the movie is boring, and that's why I am bored. Okay, the
Okay.
movie is boring, and I am bored because of the movie. So with that, what do you say? What is the difference then between she's boring and she is bored?
The with boring, it's the thing was doing the action, and not the action, and the thing have this description and provocate. I don't know. I think I don't know. And the second one, you receive the thing. You don't provocate nothing.
Good. The last description is better because, yes, as you said, this is not an action, right? This is just a description. Good. So instead, just the verb of correction, instead of that one, is going to be provoke. Only provoke.
Provoke. Okay.
Good. Yes. So ing, an adjective with ing provokes or produces a feeling. And an adjective with ed is when you feel something.
Okay.
Right? And once again, right, to say she's boring means ella es aburrida, and she's bored means ella está aburrida, right? And there's a big difference. In Spanish, we change the verb to be, right? Es, está. But in English, we change the adjective, boring, bored, right? So the same for surprising, right? They are surprising means ellos son sorprendentes, and they are surprised means ellos están sorprendidos. Right? So there's a big difference, and only by changing ing and ed. All right, so good. Again, if you get that idea, it's going to be easy to understand everything. But let's read, please, Leandro. Let's read this definition for participial or participle adjectives.
Okay. Participle or participial adjectives are adjectives that end in ed, past participle, or ing, present participle, but it is not related with their tense. Important. There aren't adjectives that are in the present or past. Adjectives don't have any tense.
Great, right? So that's important. The name of that word or that conjugation is past participle, and this one present participle, but it's not past and it's not present, right? It's just something that provokes something and something that receives or feels something, right? That's it. So with it, ed, we're going to read just examples, but I'm going to read first this. It says, right, feeling ed. We usually use the past participle ending in ed to talk about how someone feels. Right? So this is very important. This is for living beings. This is not for objects. Right? So it can be for people and it can be for animals because we can feel. Right? It's impossible to use this with objects. So let's read these three examples, please.
Okay. I was really bored during the flight. Not I was really boring during the flight. She's interested in history. Not she's really interested in history. John's frightened of spiders. Not John's is frightening of spiders.
Great, right? So you feel I was really bored. You felt that sensation. She's, remember this one, the ed. So this is going to be the pronunciation of the two. This is going to be interested, interested, right? And this interesting. So in both, the stress is in the first part and this with ed. So let's repeat those two words, please, Leandro. Interested and interesting.
Interested and interesting.
Good, right? So she's interested in something means that she feels that, right? Ella está interesada. But if you say she's interesting, it's correct, but it means ella es interesante, right? So again, the difference is very big if you use ed or ing. And the same for frightened. But let's work directly with some examples and only speaking in this case. Here we have some. So I believe that we know the meaning for all of them. So you have 4 to choose from, okay? Alarmed, amused, confused, and depressed. So give me two examples, please, Leandro. You choose which one you want to use.
Okay. Um, um, I'm depressed because I failed the exam.
Okay, yes, it is possible to say that, right? I'm feeling depressed or I'm depressed because I failed the exam, right? Good, that's one. One more, please. You can use confused, amused, right? This is like entertained, right? When you are having fun, and alarmed.
Okay. I am amused um, when I play the guitar.
Okay, yes, I believe that it's possible, correct. I'm amused when I play the guitar. Okay, good. We have some more. It's important to practice, so let's try to see some other adjectives. Here we have more. You have embarrassed, excited, exhausted, fascinated, and frightened. But we already saw the example for frightened as well, so not that one. So again, pick two, please, and give me two examples.
Okay. He is fascinated um, um, for the concert.
Yes, and in this case, as you can see here, it's better if you use this preposition by the concert, you can say.
Okay, by the concert.
Good. He's
Okay.
fascinated by the concert. Perfect. One more, please. Exhausted, excited, or embarrassed.
Okay. This was so embarrassed.
Close. Close in that one. Remember, if you say this was so embarrassed, remember, is something that feels, right?
Okay.
So it's better instead of this because that feels like a situation and you don't use ed for situations. You can talk about people, right? Like avergonzado. So who was embarrassed, Leandro? We have to mention a person or an, in this case, it's not possible an animal, so it has to be a person.
Okay. He is really embarrassed um, um, because he don't speak with her. I don't know.
Good, close. They is correct. Just some details. Remember, if you say don't, it's present, right?
Didn't.
Good. He didn't speak directly, right, in base
Uh-huh.
form with her. Good. Yes, she was really embarrassed because he didn't speak with her, right? It's like saying, ella estaba muy avergonzada porque él no le habló, right? So something like that. Good. That's perfect. And remember, the other example was good, but in the other example, you don't use ed, you use ing, right? You can say this was embarrassing, right? Esto fue vergonzoso, right?
Okay.
But ed for people. Okay, good. I believe we have one more. Yes. Also here, please, Leandro, let me verify the time just a moment. Good. We have the time for ing also. Here, everything except interested. Okay, so the same, please. Two examples. Frustrated, overwhelmed, right? When you are saturated with information, you have a lot of information and your head is like that, okay? It's surrounded by information. Relaxed and satisfied.
Okay. Um, I am satisfied um, by my work, for my work.
Good. And in this case, you can use the preposition like with. You are satisfied with something. So
Okay.
with my work. Good. That's one. One more, please.
I was really overwhelmed. And with
That's like overwhelmed.
oh,
Overwhelmed.
okay, overwhelmed. Okay, I was really overwhelmed and with the information in 2020.
Okay, yes, I believe that's a great example. Good. It means that there was a lot of information, difficult to process, right? And you were overwhelmed, right? Great. And that's a great actually adjective. Okay, it's very important to know that adjective. So good. We have to go back. It was ed. Now ing, right? Again, we're going to read the example, but first I read the first part. It says, we usually use the present participle, it means ing, to talk about the person, thing, or situation. Here you can use anything, which has
Mhm.
caused the feeling. All right, so let's read the three examples, please.
Okay, it was such a long, boring flight, and so I was bored. I read a really interesting book about history, so I was interested. Many people find spiders frightening, so they are frightened and when they see spiders.
Great, perfect. Okay, just one question here to analyze the context. Here, how do we read this according to the context? This is the consequence, right? So do we say I read or do we say I read in this case?
I read.
I read, right? Just because the
Mhm.
consequence and because when it's something unique, we don't mention the time, so we can suppose or guess that this is past, right? So good. Now the same, please. ing when something causes, when something provokes, when something produces something else, right? So let's do exactly the same, please, with some of these examples. Then we can use again all of them except for boring. So what do you say? What examples can you give me? Two examples, please. Alarming, amusing, confusing, depressing. Remember, something, a person, an object, a situation that provokes something.
Okay. I think that letter is very confusing.
Correct. It is correct. Very good.
Mhm.
One more, please.
Um, mm, um, I, I don't know. Um, that song is really amusing.
Oh, yes. Yes, if it's a song that it's catchy, right? It makes you move. It can be amusing, right? Amusing. Great. Okay, again, this can be very simple. Just try to think of people, things, situations that make you feel in that way. So you can use ing. Okay, if something makes you feel like that, you have to use ing. The same here, please, Leandro, again, except frightening. So what do you say? Embarrassing, exciting, exhausting, and fascinating. Two examples, please.
Okay. This moment was so embarrassing. The
Correct?
mhm.
Yes. And how can you complement that? How can you give a reason for why you believe it was embarrassing? What do you say?
uh,
What is the reason why you believe it was embarrassing?
uh, because he felt it's the past of fall or the
Close. Instead of failed, it's only going to be fail. He failed.
fell.
Fail.
Okay.
Good. Correct. That's good. One more, please.
Um, Have a dog is really exhausting.
Okay, good. Just one detail. Remember, if you use a verb as a subject, you have one rule. Remember, if you say have a dog, it's going to be incorrect. What do you say instead of that? To say that as an adjective, or sorry, as a subject. Remember, we
Uh,
learned about two things. We learned about gerunds and infinitives.
Having a dog.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Okay.
Correct, right? Because if you say only have, it is going to be incorrect, right? So
Okay.
good. Having a dog is really exciting. Great. Very good. Let's continue. Here, the same, please. Leandro, pick two, except for interesting. So what do you say?
Um, your coach is so relaxing, or
Correct?
it's oh,
It's possible, because you can describe people. A person can be relaxing in the sense that it produces that in a certain way, right? It's not as common, but it is. Usually we use relaxing or these things related to how you feel physically for situations, right? Usually it's more common, but it's not bad to use it with people. Okay, so one more, please.
um, this video was so satisfying.
Correct. If it again produced that on you, right? You feel satisfied because you watched that video, it is
Mhm.
correct, right? So there you go. That's everything we're going to do in terms of speaking. We're going to have one last practice now because with this we're finishing in writing. But before going there, we're going to read some uh, well, first the logic and some other details, okay? So let's read this logic to understand how you can use ing and ed with adjectives, please, Leandro.
Okay, logic. The movie is amazing, so I am amazed. That girl is stunning, so I am stunned. And the class is boring, so I am bored. And they are surprising, so we are surprised.
Sorry, good, perfect, right? So we understand the logic, right? Something
Mhm.
produces ing, something feels that ed, okay? Very simple. Ing can be with anything, people, animals, objects, situations, but ed only with living beings, mainly people and sometimes animals. All right? You have to decide that. Now, again, this is how you need to be careful. Just read this part, please, Leandro.
Okay, be careful. I'm boring is very different from I'm bored. I'm boring means I cause the other people to be bored. This is not good. Here are some examples of when one person causes a feeling in another person.
Good, right? So when one person produces a feeling, you use ing. For example, here, there's a person describing a guy as a boring guy. So what is a boring guy? A boring guy is a man, right? That provokes boredom, right? Produce aburrimiento. Here, an
Mhm.
interesting woman is a girl, a lady that makes you be interested, right? And here the same, right? It was frightening, the teacher was frightening, so you were scared of the teacher. All right, so again, it can be possible to use ing with people. And now this is important because we learned comparatives, right? And these are adjectives. So anytime you use an adjective with ed or ing, you always use the comparative more. Okay, that's
Mhm.
the let's say the summary. So let's
Okay.
read this please as a practice then.
Okay. That book is more boring than this one. I think Dr. Smith's lesson was more interesting than Dr. Brown's. For 24 hours on the flight to Australia, I was the most bored I ever been. I think this is the most interesting talk we have with her today. It was the most frightening film that he ever seen.
Very well. Perfect. And here you made the correction, right? Here it was very
Mhm.
good. Interesting, right? In the first part, you did. So
Yes.
it's pretty good. So that's it. I believe again that we don't need extra practice in writing this because this is mainly something that you're going to use in speaking, of course, in writing as well. But I believe that we have everything that we need. This is a list of verbs that you can practice with, or sorry, a list of adjectives that you can practice with. You practice with speaking, but you have some more, just one more, that you can again practice by yourself. All right. And if you have any questions, you are going to let me know. But once again, I believe that we have everything to be finishing the class. So we can finish here, but I don't know if you have any questions before finishing now, Leandro. Let me know, please.
And no, I don't have questions.
All right, good. So it means that's it. It means we are finished with this unit. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So please don't forget to work on Pearson on the first assignments, then on
Mm-hmm.
the quiz, and tomorrow we start the next unit. All right.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Good. So as always, please answer in the poll is over there. Let's answer and that's it. I hope you have a good night and I'll see you in the next class tomorrow, Andrew.
See you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.